Good evening, everyone. In compliance with Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, entitled Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of the meeting has been provided as specified in the Act. Proper notice of this public meeting was provided in the notice of January 6, 2014, and amended in the notice of January 27, 2014. Said notice was posted at the entrance of the Board of Education offices, mailed to the Nutley Sun, the Star Ledger, the North Jersey Herald News, and the Nutley Journal, mailed to the Nutley Township Clerk, advertised in the Nutley Sun on January 16, 2014, posted on the district website. This is an official meeting. In consideration of all here present, in recognition of the importance of the proceedings, it is requested that all cell phones and pages be turned off or silenced for the duration of the meeting. Thank you. Please stand for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Carnicella?
Here.
Mrs. Stanchek Martin? Mr. Ferrera?
Here.
Mr. Klein?
Here.
Mr. Riley? Ms. Russo? Here. Mr. Scalera?
Here.
Mr. Spizzato?
Here.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Thank you. Approval of the minutes as posted in the agenda.
Mr. Village President, I make a motion to accept the approval of the minutes as written.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, discussion?
Aye.
Aye. I abstain from the December 16th.
Thank you. Noted. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
One all in favor?
So, everybody.
Wow.
Correspondence?
There is a dedicated.
Thank you. This evening we have multiple presentations. We're going to get two quick ones out of the way first. First, I'd like to call up Susan Beadle and Kent Banya about the joint partnership with the Nutley Historical Society.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting us here today. The past couple of years, we've been running through the Historical Society a program, Best Tree in Nutley. This past year, we decided to link it up with our environmental science class, have the teachers work on a first prompt with the Historical Society. Mrs. Paul would like to talk about the rubric a little bit. Mrs. Beadle is here to present awards. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So real quick, what we did when Mrs. Beadle came to meet with us, she asked us to present this project to all of our environmental science students, and we did. And after working with Mr. Bania on the prompt of asking the students to write about their favorite or a beautiful tree in Nutley, we turned it over to some of our more advanced students and asked them to go ahead and write a rubric as to what they thought the important topics were and how the students should kind of tackle the project. And they did, and Caitlin, where are you, Caitlin? Stand up for a minute. Come here for a minute. She didn't know she was going to do this, but Caitlin went along and helped myself and Mr. Bania, along with Abigail Stocco, another student, write the rubric. And so thank you for doing that. So she took it upon herself, and then we approved it, and we gave the students about 2 weeks to go ahead and write the project. And then they turned them over to us, and then we turned them over to the Historical Society, and they had the pleasure of reading about 400 essays. And they got to see what it was like to grade an essay using a rubric that we provided for them. And they actually scored them using Performance Matters. And then we scored them into the computer. And when they got the results, they chose winners. So that was kind of the process. And it was really interesting to see how a student could come up with a rubric because they know how to use them better than anybody because they use them every day now. And that's it. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
This is a really intriguing process for all of us. As Ken said, the last couple of years we did it as a contest out to the town and had various entries, mostly photographs. This year the idea of doing it as an essay and then working it into the rubric for the common assessment really expanded the breadth of the project. The children wrote about the environment, the niche, and the habitat. They included a photo, and the best ones were the ones who did all of the scientific aspects. And this is 9th grade, so we really challenged them. They wrote about the scientific aspects of it, but they also wrote about their love of the tree that they picked in particular, which really grabbed us when it came time to pick the winners, because we had many that had met the core of the assignment, but to go through them and decide which were the ones to actually gain to be the contest winner, that was tough. So we were thinking we were going to do 3, we ended up with 4. And we're really, really happy with this. We're going to continue with it. We're going to expand on the project. I wanted to thank Superintendent Lazovic for connecting us with Ken Vania, with Carrie, all the other teachers, the students, all of the hard work that they did. And then the team with the Nutley Community Preservation Partnership, the Tree Committee, to learn how to do this process and to grade about 300 essays was really a challenge. And we had a terrific time with it, and we hope that next year we'll get even more of a challenge. So for now, hopefully our students are here. We have honorable mention, writing about her Japanese maple, Mary Grandinetti. Mary, thank you so very much. Thank you. And in 3rd place, writing about an American sweet gum, is Brian Cobobianco. In 2nd place, writing about her evergreen, is Shannon Anderson. Thank you so much for your work. And then in 1st place, writing about an oak in her backyard, a magnificent oak, is Gabriella Longa. You're welcome. Thank you for your work. And thank you again, everybody, for your participation. It was a blast.
Mr. Beadle, I just want to say thank you again, coming in as a newcomer and seeing this in action the past couple of years. It was really exciting. But then speaking with you last year about the ways we could combine it, I had no idea what you guys would come up with. But thank you, Mr. Vania, Ms. Paul, and certainly all the students. I mean, the number of essays, and I heard about some of them that were submitted. The feeling and emotion that went into them, it seems like a fantastic project. So now we have to top this for next year. Thank you both.
From the board also, thank you to the Historical Society and Preservation Committee for working with this year. Mr. Vania, of course, when I heard you say 400 that were turned in, that's a tremendous number, really exciting. Really taking, I serve on a couple different committees, and we have the one about volunteers and the programs here, but taking that and bringing it out to a level that involves all of our students and involves something in education, it's great. So I want to thank you personally and from the board.
You're welcome.
Next, we're going to do the Fall Athletic Awards. Mr. Pyro.
Thank you, Mrs. Claire, Mr. Lazovic, Board of Education. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to honor our fall all-conference athletes, as well as our all SEC Championship cheerleading squad and our SEC Championship girls soccer team. So I want to bring the individual awards up first. There are some people that are not here, but I'm going to mention their name anyway, and then we'll bring the teams up. It was a great fall for us, and it's a great season for us every year. The successes that we see on the athletic field transcend into the classrooms and into the community of things that we do, and it's all because of the efforts of our coaches, of our athletes, and of the members of my department, and I'm very proud of all of them for the things that they do on the field, but much more importantly, their community service projects, the things they do within our building, the things they do outside of our building, and within different organizations across the state, across the country, and Nutley as well. So they're winners all the way around, and I'm proud of them for that. Cross country, all conference, first team, girls, Super Essex Conference, Chloe Jelly. Second team Liberty Division, Katie O'Connell. Second team Liberty Division, Nicolette Cantella. Second team Liberty Division, Hajo An. An honorable mention for girls cross country, Danielle Menino. Also receiving honorable mention, Ayana Senbrian. And all these girls, I believe, are coming back, so we're looking for some big things out of you guys next year in the cross-country ranks. All-conference boys cross-country, Luke Michaels. He's got a maroon and gray tie on. He already got it. Michael Conklin. And Anthony Castronova. Girls volleyball, first team American Division, Kayla Dowling. Also, but not able to be here tonight, Molly Demgar. Second team, Kelly Nichiro. Marissa Chasmar. And Jessica Robinson. Boys soccer, first team Liberty Division, Nate Pereno. Joseph Nichols. Damani Walker. Nick Farraco. Yoshio Ishikawa. And Santino Gabriel. All Super Essex Conference football, Christopher Pomp. Frank Malanga. Mark Carnival. Michael Buckley. Craig Merkel. Peter Russo. Joe Iannini. Conference SEC Girls Soccer, Grace Montgomery. Shireen Abdelhady. Shereen will also be honored this weekend for the National Girls and Women's Athletes in Sports at Seton Hall University. Allison Zier. Kelly Hugel. Victoria Keeley. Zoe Steck. Brittany Curry. And Natalie Malillo. While we're on girls soccer, they did win the SEC this year, Liberty Division. I believe it was the first time in our program's history that we won a league championship. Coach DiPiano up will present each athlete gets presented with a team picture that says SEC champions on the bottom, as well as an SEC championship t-shirt. Assistant coach Olivia Giuliano. Rachel Nichols. Melissa Alvarez. Samantha Chimento. Caitlin Salisbury. Samantha Haddock. Kelly Eagle. Natalie Malillo. Zoe Steck. Brianna Connor. Megan Montgomery. Grace Montgomery. Shereen Abdulhadi. Allison Zier. Brittany Curry. Julia Zaremba. Victoria Keeley. That's it. Yep, that's it. And I'll present this to Coach DiPiano. Before I do, we talked about earlier was one of the most successful girls' soccer seasons we've ever had. But I think the most telling thing is they had to battle some adversity with some injuries, and they kept coming back. They were right there the whole time. And as an athletic director, as a coach, the only thing you ever want your athletes to do is inspire you. And although we lost in the playoffs in the sectional semi or quarterfinals, it was one of the best games I've ever watched in Nutley High School. The enthusiasm of the girls, and that enthusiasm, again, transcended right to the fans. It was the most crowded I've ever seen a soccer game, and it was the most exciting game that I've seen in a while. And to see that Raider pride shine through on our girls and our fans and our parents, it was just something really special. And these girls created that atmosphere that I hope bleeds right on through to the program for years to come. So they left their mark on our legacy, and they did a great job. Okay, now, you talk about dynasties and you talk about the Cowboys, the Steelers of the 70s, our bowling program. Well, our cheerleading squad is creating quite the dynasty here in the Super Essex Conference. Since the conference's inception, they have not lost an SEC championship, so I believe that's 5 in a row. 5 in a row. If we were giving out rings, they'd have a whole handful of rings. I'll tell you, and we did win this year. We won by maybe 5 or 6 points, and we had a fantastic performance. I think one of the best performances tonight was our JV squad, so it looks like it's actually going to keep moving forward and forward, so we're going to have to spend a lot of money on t-shirts. All right, I want to bring up Coach Iguanti to help present the awards. This is a little bit easier because all the cheerleaders got small t-shirts, so we didn't have to put names on. It works out real well.
Rosie Curtelli. Mallory Del Mora. Ariel Easter. Sydney Foltis. Taylor Jancarelli. Cassandra Garino. Madison Montanari. Caitlin O'Neill. Hannah Monero. Tori Reyes. And Olivia Tron. Yes.
And one for Coach Iguanti. Congratulations.
Diane Duong.
Again, as I said, it was a very successful fall, and hopefully we'll be back here in another month or two giving out the same awards and accolades to our winter athletes. Thank you, and enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Mr. Pyro. Thanks to the coaches, and congratulations to the athletes. Anybody like to leave at this time before we start regular business?
Thank you. Bye-bye. See
Organized. Thank everyone for staying. Work can continue, as we've been working through the different program studies from elementary schools to the grammar schools. Tonight we're going to have Walker Middle School done by Mrs. Vellani and of course our great principal, Mrs. Egan of our middle school. So I'll turn it over to both of you. If the board members on this side would like to come to the other side of the room for the presentation.
Not a good start. Everyone laughed.
If it's not horrible, it's kind of like this.
I'll be on the side.
No, it's up there. That's going to be adjusted. Exactly. He's going to push that side.
Good evening, we're gonna get started.
That'd be good.
Tonight, Ms. Egan and I are presenting the middle school program of studies. Last month, we presented the high school program of studies and the updates to that for the high school program. Tonight, we're gonna talk about the middle school program. The program of studies last year, so one change to is the middle school model, and the added to it, and Ms. Egan is going to talk in detail about that this evening. Just as a reminder, why do we have a program of studies? And how does the program of studies help the student staff and the community understand what our offerings are at the middle school level? The philosophy behind it is to help the students navigate through the middle school, to build that bridge for them coming from the 5 elementary schools into one middle school, so there's a cohesive understanding of what's expected. One document to bring them all together and to assist them as they begin to schedule their courses. Ms. Egan is now going to talk to you about the middle school model.
We, in our title, have been called a middle school for a long time. However, we are technically a junior high school. So switching over to the middle school model is really a philosophy, not a grade level. What we're trying to do is address students at this level. This is the most critical level in their education. Students at this level go through more changes physically, psychologically, and emotionally more than at any other point in their education. So it's imperative that the school be set up to address all of those needs. What we are going to do is put a system in place to support students and bridge them from an elementary school setting to a high school setting. In doing that, we're going to put the students on teams. There will be 3 teams per grade. There will be approximately 110 students per team. Each team consists of a core set of teachers, a math, science, English, and social studies teacher. So those 110 students will rotate through those teachers throughout the course of the day. Those teachers will meet on a regular basis to discuss students' academic strengths and weaknesses, curriculum, projects, assignments, contacting parents, and reviewing assessment data. In addition to placing them on teams as a support system, we're also going to have what's called advisory groups. Advisory groups are an even smaller group setting of students. This small group setting is assigned to a staff member. The staff member meets with these students on a regular basis to go over like mini lessons, and they could be character development, academic needs, time management skills, and in this way we're addressing the whole child, not just them through a content area. To help with that, we have course offerings that will change slightly for next year. Everyone will be obviously in an English, science, social studies, and a math course. Science for next year, our pilot is extending to 8th grade, so all students will take integrated science in both 7th and 8th grades. Students will be able to select between 3 world languages, Latin, Spanish, or Italian. I'm happy to say that art will be open for all students next year, so when students are selecting their elective courses, they get to choose art among others, and they'll be able to rank them according to preference. The music courses are still performance-based, so they have to try out into those courses, but if accepted, they can select those as their elective course. One other change for next year is the assessments. Students were taking an algebra readiness assessment in 6th grade to be placed into a math course, but this year they'll be using their common assessments instead of an additional testing.
So we're hoping that this document will continue to bring consistency to our programs, communicate the information for our academics, and provide information for parents and students and staff members as well. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email programmerstudies@nutleyschools.org, and we will get back to you.
Thank you. Any questions? Any questions from board members?
Mr. Scolaire, I'd like to point out while you're thinking of the questions that we're actually going to be having a community forum evening on the middle school model led by myself, Ms. Maloney, certainly Ms. Egan, and Mr. Sullivan. We've done a tremendous amount of work with the staff. They've been focused on this for a while. So we're excited about September. We'll be having that evening to really delve even more specifically into the middle school philosophy and what that means for Nutley. And that's coming up. So thank you again to everyone who put that together.
Any questions from any of the board members? If not, thank you, Ms. Egan and Ms. Long. We'll be now going to the superintendent's report. Mr. Lesvik.
Thank you, Mr. Scolaire. Opening up this evening's report with the public to the entire community, but we have some wonderful examples of all the great things that are going on here, and student athletes were here representing all the wonderful opportunities we as a board and as a community provide for students and the way they can learn not just in the classroom, but on the athletic field, on the stage, and certainly out in the community. An example of that, again, was the partnership with the Historical Society. And so great things going on for students. That being said, it is also our job to provide an environment that is conducive to education, to learning. And that hasn't necessarily been the case over the past week. In Lincoln School, we have had EP issues. The same at Washington, but taking the case today with Spring Garden. It's not acceptable. It won't be acceptable. We take it incredibly seriously. I was in Spring Garden today, and it was a comedy of errors with everything except humor. I want everyone to understand, I think our staff did an incredible job, starting with Mr. Gordy through the teachers and all the support staff, making sure that the students were safe and that we kept learning. So thank you to our Spring Garden teachers. It certainly was not the easiest of days. I can report at this point in time that we have heat back in the building. When we are done with the Board of Education meeting, I'll be headed back over to Spring Garden to make sure that all systems are functioning. We're looking for a much better week. But again, thank you to everyone. While at no time wasn't necessarily unsafe, it was without a doubt uncomfortable, and that gets in the way of learning. We want sure as a board, and I certainly as a superintendent, want to make sure that that does not happen. We want to put our students in the best possible situations so they can succeed. Sometimes these things happen. Some of the reasons may be out of our control, but all of our responses are within our control. So we want to make sure that moving forward, everyone knows our commitment to maintaining these wonderful buildings with character and making sure our students have the best opportunity to learn. Continuing an unorthodox superintendent's report, the second piece is I've come to find is an extremely important clarification. We seem to have had the intermingling of two miscommunications. I'm not really sure on which part, but I do want to clarify for the community, certainly for our staff, and for the Board of Education. Again, there's been no miscommunication on the board, but to make sure the message is clear. Last meeting, I spoke about real-time, our student information system, and how we have the parent portal and the student portal. And as part of the parent portal and the student portal, at some point in time, it has been the board's plan to do what most other districts have done, which is open up access to an online gradebook so that parents can see into their students' work. That phrase was attributed to me, or taken to mean we were going to now put some kind of technological device in the building so people could physically see into the buildings. I want to make sure that everyone understands, and we're on the video camera, which will go on the website, that has absolutely never been an intention of the Board of Education. While we did have a big security push, and we're continuing with that security push, cameras that we have installed on the outside buildings, in stairwells and hallways, entryways, those kinds of things to enhance security. They are video only, and the swipe cards that we have used, again, to increase security and access to the building, not only security-wise, but efficiency's sake, the only role that those cards play is to allow entrance into the buildings. I think this was combined, as I said, with the second piece, which is that as part of our security plan, we've gone out for RFP for a communication system to allow the entire district to communicate as one system, which we don't have right now, and allow as part of that system direct communication in times of emergency with our police, fire, and emergency response personnel. It seems that that RFP has been taken to mean that we were going out with a much more robust security system where we were going to be taping everything and tracking everyone. That is not the case. So I felt the need to make that clear too many times, which is one of the reasons I think we're really pushing these community forums, but too often misinformation is spreading around the district. And again, recommend people, if you have questions, contact us, and certainly use the website. We've put it there so it can be a resource for everyone. If we don't have the information you're looking for, when you contact us, we will get it up there. But we want to make sure that, as our strategic plan states, we value communicators, that we value collaboration. We want the entire community as one, because it's not just the community supporting the schools, but the schools supporting the entire community, and all of us together supporting the students. So I wanted to clarify that. Did want to thank Ms. Egan, Mr. Sullivan, Ms. Villani for the presentation. It really just commenting on our strategic plan. Again, the 6 components as we move forward. We're only in year 2 of a 5-year strategic plan, and we've come so far already. I'm looking forward, as an example with the middle school model, to continue presenting on these pieces over the next 3 months, so people start to see how much work our staff, our community, our Board of Education has done in moving that strategic plan forward and setting us up for a successful year 3. The final piece I want to mention as far as this agenda, there's a resolution on here recognizing the work of school board members. And I want to be clear that Governor Christie announced that January was School Board Recognition Month. And I think it's something that we do need to recognize. And I don't mean just to recognize these members here, although they deserve recognition, but becoming a member of the school board and being involved, coming to meetings, and taking an interest in playing a role in your school district is a critical piece for your community and for our future as a country. And so I do think it's important that we recognize those people, both who are our staff in the district, also those who are volunteering, and board members who are volunteers, giving of their own time and their own effort to make sure that our students have the absolute best. So I want to make sure that that was said. Going backwards, thanks to Ms. Martin, Ms. Villani, and I was leading a math and focus parent, our first community forum on our new math program. We had about 120, 130 parents out, some robust conversation. The presentation was this short part of the evening, and then some dynamic conversation back and forth. We're looking forward for more of that. So like the math meeting, one of the things that came out of it in talking with Ms. Martin is we're going to look to have specific grade level nights so that we can have parents come out and focus just on kindergarten, just on third grade, because that's where their students are, and walk out with more specific information based on where their kids are now and where they're moving next year. Addition parent information that's coming up. We have the Parent Academy, which is an outgrowth of the strategic plan, the communications team. We're inviting parents Thursday, February 6th, to attend the meeting starting at 6:30, where they're going to be able to learn the different technology pieces that we put into place here in district and how they can leverage those pieces of technology to better integrate themselves in the district and support their students. On Wednesday, March 12th, already playing that far out, we're an elementary guidance program, again, under Ms. DeVilio, but building empathy, navigating through difficult emotions, working with parents, dealing with students at that specific level. You'll be seeing more and more of these meetings come up on an annual basis so that parents of kindergarten students have information that's specific to them as opposed to parents of 6th grade students. We recognize the different needs. We want to try and make sure we support those with information so that we really are building that bridge between the classroom and the home. Additional topics for upcoming parent sessions. We're going to be having one on the park assessments that are coming out, our K-5 science program, our K-8 reading program, as well as I mentioned, additional math sessions and presentations by our gifted and talented specialists on exactly what we're doing, not just in gifted and talented, but how that relates back into the general classroom for all students. Big one, kindergarten registration. I cannot believe that we are almost in February, but kindergarten registration will begin Monday, March 3rd. It will take place in the high school cafeteria, again, as we had a successful program last year from 4 to 7:30. Registration packets are available on the district website. Will be available on the district website by the end of the week. We're encouraging people to log in, grab the sites, download, have all that information prepared, and then show up on the appropriate night at the high school so we can get you registered and start this exciting journey. Mr. Kelly's AV students, again, I seem to be talking about him on a regular basis, but they participated in an anti-texting campaign, and on January 10th, they also participated in a Traffic Safety Day. They received recognition for both of those projects again. My understanding, I haven't gotten I know Mr. Kelly's sick this evening, but I believe we're going to be receiving a monetary award again for the students' work, which of course, as in the past 2 years, will go right into purchasing something for the program to go back in the classroom. So some of our students are here. Congratulations. To remind the board members again, we have the 5-year curriculum plan that came out of our strategic plan. The idea is that we no longer fall out of best practice. Our world language pilot had a meeting Thursday the 16th. The committee met to discuss what's necessary moving forward. We're, again, in year 5 of the world language rotation. Last year was their program review, and now we're talking about what to do with that moving forward. Our local professional development committee board members, again, did meet. We're working on forming next year's goals. We're working, and Mrs. Kristen Tella's here. Ms. Gambara's here. So thank you to staff. They've been taking on something extra to make sure that we have that leadership coming from the people who have direct contact with students, to make sure that we're designing professional development a year out that's meaningful for our staff. Following up on a piece, going back to Dr. Reed when he was here and seeing it through, another iteration of the Nutley Youth Survey went out. Permission forms were distributed to middle and high school parents. To date, we collected a little over 300 permission slips. And again, the permission slips coming back, letting us know that they can participate or they will not participate. The survey is scheduled to take place the week of the 3rd. And again, we're looking for this information. Ms. Egan mentioned again the whole child. We're always looking for more information to better serve the whole child, regardless of middle school, high school, or elementary. Professional development ongoing again. Thanks to the board again for helping us redirect the budget and resources so we can provide professional development to our staff. But our science training continues under Mr. Bannon. Still excited to see where that second session goes and how we move forward in that middle module. Readers workshop continuing with Ms. Klein. At this point, all K-6 and 7-8 teachers that have not been included in the first 2 rounds are being included now. We start moving the entire district forward, leveraging the resources that we purchased this past year and got into classrooms. And I'm very excited that in February we're continuing with Ms. Woods-Murphy, our gifted and talented specialist, as she gets into general classrooms and is conducting sample lessons and is team teaching with our elementary school teachers, so that's exciting. Some big events coming up, and I promise I'm done, but Read Across America is coming up the week of March 3rd. Most of the board members, I believe, received invitations from some of the schools, if not all of them. Come on in and read. It's an exciting day. Elementary music concerts are all on our district website. But coming up in March, the 11th, 12th, 13th, and 19th. If you're interested in attending anything, make sure you check the school's websites or just the general district calendar. They're all there. Our third half club tournament starting Thursday, March 20th. Again, so looking forward to seeing that, how that lines right up with March Madness. And again, our assessments, just as a reminder, we start in March with the HESPA. We are also involved in the pilot for the park assessments. And then moving into April and May, everything from our AP tests, our NJAS tests from 3 to 8, and of course, the biology assessments, as well as the first time we'll be giving the park end of year. So a lot to come, some excitement. Mr. Square.
Thank you. I'm going to clarify one thing. You did miss the midterms at the high school are going on this year.
Right now.
And we did adjust, learn from last year back to the committee. We adjusted it the way the scheduling is done for the midterms like it is done for the finals, which was a complaint we had last year that thanks to our superintendent and committee, we did adjust it so it's being treated like the finals where they have a schedule set for midterms. So it was a learning curve last year, but we did correct that, and I just wanted to note those are going on currently.
And I want to acknowledge the teachers. I mean, almost all of our midterms are being given through our student performance assessment system, which is Performance Matters. They're already leveraging data. I was with teachers in the afternoon today, as they were already using some of the data that had been put in previously. I was surprised to find out in Spa Way to Go that we use Performance Matters for our treaty assessment. I'm anxious to see some data on that. But again, it's what we're trying to do. We had a training session on that as well, Mr. Scalera, to make sure teachers are starting to leverage that more and more. And the idea is that we want to know from teachers what they want to know. That's what goes in the system. And by sharing that information, we're much more equipped, well-equipped to serve each individual student.
Thank you. Board Secretary's report.
Thank you, Mr. Scalera. I just want to remind every board member that you should have received an email last week on the 23rd from School Ethics. So please fill out those forms. They are done electronically. And the sooner you get to it, the better. Our deadline is in April. But if you did not receive that email, it was sent to your Nutley School's email address. So if you did not get the email, please call my office so that we will report back to the state. They will be sent to you again. In addition to that, we have received requests from 12 different vendors for the handheld wireless communication devices bid packets. We will be conducting a walkthrough for all vendors, and the bid opening will take place on February 20th. On that same day, we will also have the bid opening for the fire doors and the remainder of the roof replacement projects at the high school. And we're going to be moving ahead with the Lincoln School security entrance project, get that done over the summer as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yamas. Committee reports. Mr. Spizzato, Finance.
Okay, Mr. President, we met, myself, Sal Ferrara, and Dan Carnicella, January 27th. We met with Mrs. Yeomans. A couple things we went over was the finance agenda resolutions, building use, financial reports. Mrs. Yeomans updated us on the current year finances, reported that revenues and expenditures are on track as budgeted. We just went over the 2014-15 budget update, the revenue budget part. We will be having a public hearing scheduled on March 24th for the public. We discussed the ROD grants. Lincoln School, you just mentioned it, the Lincoln School and the bleacher projects did not receive approval from the Department of Education. The Department of Education did not consider the bleachers because it's an outdoor project, and Lincoln School was considered a change in use. So we are able now to use the Lincoln School project as part of our 2007 referendum money, since it is for security. And we are going to, I guess we're going to apply it, Karen? Do we have to send it for that, to get approval? Do we have to use that money?
We have approval to use.
We have approval already? Okay, so we've already received approval of that, so like Karen said, we will be moving to complete that project this summer. We discussed possibilities of generating revenue from school bus advertisement. We're waiting for some more information, and we will discuss it with the full board. We discussed the extended day financial report through December 13th. Current enrollment in our extended day is 542 students. We discussed our meeting calendar for the remainder of the year. We discussed the health plan renewal and opportunities for some possible grants. And that's what we finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spizzato. Mr. Klein, Academic Committee, we met on January 23rd. Several agenda items that are listed. We discussed the middle school program studies, which we already heard about. the NCLB application amendment, as well as the board member resolution, which Mr. Lasnik already spoke about. We also discussed the AEDs and Janet's law, which is coming out in September 4th, 2014. Just getting a run through of where we stand in regards to the devices for safety reasons. Artists in residency at the middle school, April 8th, the middle school students are going to have the opportunity to work with Cliff Mendelson, Native American Ceramics, doing a program called A Day with Clay. That sounds exciting. Park readiness was a topic of discussion, as well as we had several updates involving the strategic plan, the language arts and math curriculum, Gifted and Talented, the Nutley Youth Survey, and the World Language Pilot Program. Thanks for Klein. Our Communications Committee, Mr. Carnicello.
See if this is going to work on here.
Do we have?
On 115? Okay.
On 115, I attended a communications meeting at the high school, and they actually scheduled an event for 2/6 of 2014. And the purpose of the meeting is to just continue the awareness for Parent Portal and the usage of the website. The time of the event is from 6 to 8:30, and it's actually going to be held here.
Thank you, Mr. Carnicello. And I'm going to be doing the Administrative Committee. We had a meeting just prior to this. Some of the things on our agenda tonight was zoning. The committee reviewed a recent change in zoning application to allow for new single housing units in the Radcliffe School area. The committee agreed that we're going to draft a letter to restate that while the district's not opposed to development, it is concerned about the ability of our schools to support our current population as they are. That's going to be pretty much a standard we're going to use for all future construction, that we're not against the project, but it is a concern for our schools at all times. AED policy, the committee reviewed the current process of district to prepare for the changes to the AED requirements. The district's already purchasing the necessary equipment and has planned the necessary training of specific staff in each building. The board will approve the necessary policy and regulation changes over the summer. The technology committee, the committee reviewed the current status of the open RFP for communications, which I heard Mrs. Yeaman state we had 12 people responding to. Personnel, the committee reviewed the personnel agenda for the upcoming board meeting, which is currently on the agenda. We reviewed the calendar for the 2014-2015 budget that will be meeting at our committee on February to start discussing that budget. Policy regulations update for review. The committee reviewed the upcoming changes to our AD policy and the timeline for the purchase of equipment and training staff. The policy will be finalized over the summer for review of first reading. The committee reviewed the policy currently up for first readings and for second reading for tonight. And we also reviewed the current policies that are up for just for a second reading tonight. And we also reviewed and recommended the personnel agenda. And that's the report for the administrative committee. We now come to the portion for hearing citizens. We now come to that portion of the meeting will allow members of the public to address the board. In this section, we'll allow questions or comments on only the resolution addressed in tonight's agenda. Our board agenda number 601 allows 20 minutes for these communications. Each person shall be limited to 3 minutes. We ask you to try to stay within the requirement. Speakers may speak more than once, only after others wishing to speak on a topic have been heard. All statements will be directed to me as the chairperson, and no one may address board members individually. Please be reminded that if your statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, irrelevant, or redundant, your participation may be terminated. Please remember to always state your name and address each and every time you address the board. For the first person, please step forward and tell us what you wish to say. Thank you. Anyone wishing to be heard this time?
Good evening, Mr. Acting President.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
My name is Alan Thomas, 108 McKinley Street. Mr. President, my first question, I started to talk with Ms. Yeamans about it, maybe she could put on the record about finance resolutions 1 and 2. I'm just curious as to why there are 6 months worth of reports that the board is approving tonight. Typically we get these at the end of every month or sometimes a quarter, and now we're getting 6 months all at once. She started to give me an explanation and that you want to start the meeting again. So.
Sure. Go ahead, Ms. Yeamans.
I wanted to make sure you have enough to read in case you're having a hard time sleeping.
Well, I realize at least with some of these reports, only Jim Kutzer could make heads or tails out of it.
They are a bit strange, I think. We transitioned treasurers this year, beginning in July. And there were, each treasurer has a different way of going about doing the job and preparing their statements. So we had a little bit of difficulty in trying to go from the one treasurer's report into the other and making sure that all of the balances were accurate. So I consulted our auditors, and on their advice, they suggested that we wait until they completed the audit, at which time they would know what the true ending balances were for June of 2013, make sure that we were carrying the correct balances moving into the new school year. So that's the reason for the delay in the reports being processed.
And there are no penalties assessed against the board because we're doing this late?
No, none whatsoever. As a matter of fact, what would normally be happening in January is that we would be sending the December reports to the county office. So those December reports would have been approved this evening anyway, so we're on target.
Thank you. I have other questions.
Anyone else wishing to be heard? Mr. Thomas?
Thank you, Mrs. Clara. Regarding administration resolutions 2 and 3, this is a first and second reading of policies. Mr. President, there's a recent court decision that you might want to consult with board and council about that basically comes to conclusion that a municipal body, I don't think this is, it might have been a board of education involved, I'm not sure, that anything that is sent in the packet to board members that otherwise is not privileged, such as trying to buy stuff, student matters, and so on and so forth, should be made available to the public at the same time the agenda is made available. I don't know how controlling that is, and I'm sure it's being appealed, but it's an important decision decided not necessarily under the Open Public Meetings Act, but also under the common law of the public's right to access to public records. And I raise this because I noticed that the policies were not on the website when it came to, at least, unless you snuck them in at 5 o'clock this afternoon.
They were put on the website this morning. And just so we're clear again, because we've had this conversation, we want the policies up with the other board materials on Friday when it goes out. We had a bit of an issue personnel-wise and did not realize that had not happened until this morning. I was at Spring Garden, and once we were made aware of it, we corrected the issue. And I am happy to report that someone in the office will collect the pool because we, no. I was pretty confident that you would bring it up because I just want to reiterate that we are committed to make sure that that information is sent out with the rest of the agenda. And it was ready, just not, did not make the website. But we will correct that.
As you know, I can't spend my whole day checking the website.
I understand, sir.
So, Mr. Thomas, you brought something to mind for me, a little bit in reverse of that, because I know we did post them. But I have a question about our lockdown and active shooter procedures. I don't know if they should be a document that's posted as open on the website, because it's going to be telling what we're doing. So I have a reverse question for Mr. Thomas, actually.
I actually was going to raise that as well.
Okay.
In fact, there was one other policy that I raised the same concern about whether certain policies, and this is the old issue, what's private and what's for security and what must be public. It's good that we have a policy, but I don't think we need to tell anybody the procedures that we're going to follow so they can track us.
And again, the policy and the regulations here specifically, we debated about that, but they're general. They specify the large scale things that every school district has to do. So as a board, we're responsible for making sure we publicize that. As far as our emergency procedures though, which underlie the regulations, those we don't put in the website.
I don't think so. I have, Mrs. Clara, finance resolutions 10 and 11, this has to do with the Lincoln School project and the previous projects. I apologize, I was trying to follow Mr. Esposito's report, but I kind of missed something. Something said that something was rejected, yet it's something already approved for funding, and I didn't get what happened in between, so that we get rejected and then approved for using federal referendum money.
Karen, Mrs. Yates will answer that for you.
These two projects, when the board originally approved them several months ago, was because we were applying for ROD grants from the state.
And that is,
The state released funding for construction projects, and they call the grants that districts receive for approximately 40% share of ROD grants. So we applied for them for those two projects, but our projects were not accepted by the state. They didn't accept any of the, as Mr. Sposato had announced, they didn't accept any projects that were out there, because the state received in excess of 2,000 projects from school districts throughout the state, and the funding just would not allow for certain types of projects. So they had basically set up a rubric type of system, and they scored the projects based upon certain criteria. And outdoor projects were given the lowest criteria. And the Lincoln School project did not meet the requirements either of the initial funding source. So the Lincoln School project is a part of our security, because that's exactly what we're doing, making a secure entrance to the building. And since the referendum that was passed in 2007 encompassed security aspects.
in the elementary schools?
Yes, every building but this one. We have decided that we do definitely want to move forward. The board has made a commitment to get that project done, so we're going to be using referendum funding. So this resolution is just to clarify the funding source.
And the same for the bleachers?
The bleachers, the board has not made a firm decision as to where the funding is going to come from, because that does not come under the referendum.
Okay.
So that project is
The
not.
resolution today, but we're still going to go forward with approving schematics and stuff like that on the bleacher project?
Yeah, we're going to be looking into what we're going to do there. That's what we're authorizing there, not to spend the money today, but what we're going to do with that project. That's what's being authorized there, to proceed with the initial steps in order to proceed with the project.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Anyone else wish to be heard on these resolutions? If not, I'd like to close that portion of the meeting and move to the resolutions. On the academic resolutions, Mr. Klein, will you move academic resolutions 1 through 4?
Yes, I move academic resolutions 1 through 4 as written.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, or discussion, excuse me? All in favor, call the roll.
Mr. Marticello?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes,
Mr. Sposato?
Yes.
thank you. Ms. Russo, would you move administration resolutions 1 through 6?
Yes, I'd like to move administrative resolutions 1 through 6 as listed. I so move.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Marticello?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mr. Sposato?
Yes.
Mr. Sposato, would you like to move finance resolutions 1 through 11?
Yeah, Mr. President, I move finance resolutions 1 through 11 as written.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Marticello?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes, but as to resolution number 3, I will abstain to check numbers 93493.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mr. Sposato?
Yes.
Ms. Russo, would you remove personnel resolution number 1?
Yes, I'd like to move personnel resolution number 1 as listed. I so move.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Marticello?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
I will abstain.
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 Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mr. Sposato?
Yes.
Okay. In this section, we allow questions or comments on all school-related matters. Our regulations allow 30 minutes for these communications. Again, each person shall be limited to 3 minutes, and we ask you to try to stay within the requirement. As I stated earlier, all statements will be directed to me as this time. Anyone wishing to be heard, please come forward.
Hello again. First, Ms. Blair, again, I would like to congratulate board members as part of Board of Education Month. I know that you all work very hard and sometimes take a lot of comments that are not necessarily flattering to the board or the school district, and you have to deal with those. Not to mention the inherent conflict that you are an elected legislative body that has virtually no power except to evaluate the superintendent. You can't do anything about, so-and-so's art class or so-and-so's, what's happening in someone's math class, or the pothole even in the parking lot. And that has to be inherently frustrating. So you all do congratulations for that, not to mention you have to listen to people like me every couple of weeks. I love the program studies thing. There are questions that came up that I would like to hear answers to at some point in time. I'm sure there's a zillion more once we get down into it, such as how the teams are going to be selected, how the advisory groups are going to meet when. I'm not sure why we're changing the math assessment based on what I heard tonight, but I assume it's a good reason, because generally things academically are done for good reasons around here these days. I would like to suggest that the board consider naming the Parents Academy the Walt Sauter Parents Academy, since that is something Walt on this time of the board always was promoting that we do. Just that section. And the final question I had was, are we ready for Park in this technology-wise? I mean, I know we're getting ready academic-wise, but tech-wise is the question.
The state actually sends out a spreadsheet that the districts can use based on the number of buildings and the number of students and grade levels and configuration to figure out the minimum requirements. And we exceed the minimum requirements. We're actually looking based on our research purchases to make sure that we're doubly and triply equipped to make sure that should something go down, we have extras and we can test more students. The way it's broken down, you have to test everyone within a certain window of time. It's up to the district to figure out how to do that. Based on those requirements, we're more than equipped, and that's why we're actually excited to be part of the pilot, see how it actually runs. We have the equipment, we want to see actually how it will run in real time.
And so, in other words, kids are not going to be taking the test all at the same time within a particular grade?
Depends. Most likely, but not necessarily. They have the same window, but they will not necessarily be sitting at the exact same time.
Okay. And is the test going to be different for the kids who took it on Tuesday, Wednesday?
I'm just excited to see the park assessments as you are.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Thomas. Anyone else wishing to be heard at this time?
I know. Terry Clark, 45 Hampton Place, spokesperson for the Nutley Parent Advocacy Network. Mr. Vice President, I have a question. Mr. Laspick was speaking about the March meeting. Is that March 10th is a Monday and March 12th is a Wednesday? I'm just a little confused. Because I think you said March 12th, which was a Monday, so I just wanted to clarify.
I wasn't talking about board meetings.
Okay, no, I know, but there was some sort of meeting.
The parent meeting for the elementaries?
Is that March?
March 12th. 12th, I believe, yeah.
And
I
that's
don't think it
okay.
would have conflicted with a Monday, probably would
No,
not
no.
be on Monday.
Gotcha.
That was for parents of students in the elementary level. We're going to have members of our guidance department there to talk about specific social and emotional issues.
Oh, excellent. That's very good. I just wanted to discuss something with the board in regards to a workshop that we did in September. Last year, Mr. Vice President, we had spoken to Mr. Laspick in regards to some issues that we really felt were coming to us from parents about their children not focusing, not attending, and how difficult it is. And we really wanted to do something special. So we came up with this idea that we would do a lunch and learn to help the teachers at the elementary level deal with students that have ADD, ADHD, they may be on the spectrum, may have Asperger's or autism. So Mr. Laspick was very gracious and said it was okay for us to come and do a workshop in September. And we spoke to Mrs. LaGuardia, and we had a great workshop. on the 27th of September. And teachers that were there, and of course it wasn't mandatory, we wanted everybody to feel as though, you know, they're a guest, and we provided lunch, and we wanted them to feel, you know, comfortable, because this was something that we wanted to really express our feelings that teaching these children, living with them at home is hard enough, but teaching them is really hard too. You're with them 6 hours a day and trying to get them to attend and to learn. It's not easy. So we had this opportunity to meet with the teachers and provide them with a very short workshop called PACE. And I was just wondering if I could just show you very quickly. I have just and we provided a speaker who was an occupational therapist who came in and provided this list of, it's actually a 5 to 7 minute program that is done every day in our district. And it's very successful in the general ed population because, again, it just hits upon every kid out there who just does not know how to attend. And it's really, there's like a neuroscience behind this, so it's not even something that's, you know, it's really scientific. So anyway, we had this great opportunity, and you know, we really wanted to branch out to the other elementary schools, and we tried to go to the Anacog, but then we heard that there was a problem, and that we had to go back to central office with this. But you know, things go on, we hear things, and I was approached by a few parents who told me that they heard in a parent meeting, that Dr. Schiffenhaus wasn't happy with this particular workshop, and that all approvals for that this actually was not going to happen again. That's what was said. And I felt like, you know, I know that was actually said in front of board members and in front of parents, and when it came to my, came to my attention, I really wanted to stick up for this program and say, you know what, this was like an amazing lunch and learn that teachers, I think, got something out of, because we got feedback from them, and we got feedback from the principal, and our intention was to do something that was supportive of the staff. Okay, and our next, our next step would be to be supportive of the parents as well, but the staff, they work with these kids, and it's very important that they attend. So I just want to put it out there that I'm kind of uncomfortable with what transpired.
So why don't you let Mr. Lazovic respond to that?
I'm sorry.
I am received your email. You know that we are excited that the organization wants to partner. We're very grateful for Lunch and Learn. There are questions we have about specific programs. So not that we want to discontinue partnering with the organization, we certainly want to continue. But it's a matter of when we have a Lunch and Learn, exactly what programs are proposed. So it's a conversation that we can have.
Okay, not a problem.
But that's why I thought I put it in the email. I know I responded to your first email.
You should about something else.
Okay.
Okay. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to be heard at this time? Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the meeting, and we'll go to old business. Is there any old business at this time?
Mr. Scolari, I apologize. I left out an important piece of the school, of the superintendent's report. It is that time of year again where the state of New Jersey releases the new school performance. We shared with the board, but I just want to make an announcement to the public that they'll be releasing it. My understanding is Wednesday or Thursday. The SPRs follow the same format, which was newly introduced last year, where each of our schools are compared to 30 like schools. Again, all the presentations we had done last year on what how they build these reports, still exactly as it was, but our peer groups have changed. So we're looking forward to having a presentation, certainly to the board and at committee levels, on the new performance reports and what we feel they mean and how they can help us constantly continually improve. But there definitely will be some significant questions as people look from the 2013 report to the 2014 report. Just because of the nature of the report, not because of any increase, decrease, or otherwise in our statistics, performance, or the rest. So I want to make that clear, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that before they came out.
Thank you, Mr. Lazovic. Any other board member, old business? Any board members, new business? Seeing no new business, I move to executive session, whereas the board will be discussing matters exempt from public discussion pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12, excuse me. Now therefore be resolved, the Board of Education recess to close the executive session is time to discuss student matters. Be it further resolved that the results of the discussion will be made public by inclusion on the agenda of a subsequent meeting of the Board of Education, or when the reasons for discussing matters in closed session no longer exist. Any motion?
I make a motion to go into executive.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.